Good morning, cherished viewers. You are welcome to the Koko Digest Morning Show. I am your host, Yayira Awuno. We are coming to you live from the studios of Clock TV. And you can also catch us on GoTV channel 184. And if you're not in the comfort of your home, you're on the move, you can join us on social media, particularly on Facebook and on YouTube. Just search for Clock TV GH, like, share, and subscribe to our pages, and then join in the Koko Digest Morning Show live stream. Now, here's what to expect on the Koko Digest Morning Show for today. As on the lifestyle segment, we're going to be talking about child loss trauma. You know, losing a child is not an easy experience. It's very painful regardless of the age of the child. So what does that mean? What does that translate to for parents? Whatever the age of the child is, from infancy even into adulthood, what does that mean? The trauma, the mental health of parents, we're going to be learning about that, as May is the month of mental health awareness by the Ghana Health Service as well. Then also on the business and sports segments, we're going to be having news and highlights as always, and they're going to be giving us all the news that we need to know in the world of business and sports. But for now, let's prepare to be motivated as we prepare to get into the online and print review segment. Now, as the weekend approaches, we like to motivate our viewers and ourselves. And today's quote is by Leigh Hunt, and she's saying, "The groundwork for all happiness is good health. The groundwork for all happiness is good health." Now, this is basically telling us that good health is often the quiet foundation beneath every joyful moment in life. When the body is strong and the mind is at peace, even ordinary days feel lighter, more meaningful, and easier to enjoy. Health affects how we think, how we love, how we work, and how we experience the world around us. Without it, success, wealth, and achievements can lose much of their sweetness because pain, exhaustion, or stress can overshadow them. This quote reminds us that the true happiness that we seek does not begin with material things alone. It starts with caring for ourselves physically, mentally, and of course, emotionally. Rest, nourishment, movement, peace of mind, and balance are not luxuries. They are roots from which joy grows. And lastly, when we prioritize wellness, we give ourselves the strength and clarity to fully embrace life, pursue our dreams, and cherish the people and moments that matter most. So this is today's quote for today. The groundwork for all happiness is good health, and this is by Leigh Hunt. So this is something to think about. It's not just about our mental health, but also our, physical health matters. All aspects of our health matters to make our lives more seamless. The human experience in itself has its ups and downs, but whatever we can do to make it even more seamless, make it even a little better for ourselves and the people around us, we should consider doing that. Up next is the online and print review segment with the weather report by Peter Nsia. back to the Koko Digest Morning Show. And if you're just tuning in, it's time for the online and print review. But before that, Peter Nsia will give us the weather report for today.
Thank you very much, Yaira. Good morning to our cherished viewers, and thank you for always tuning in to Clock TV and being part of the Koko Digest Morning Show. As usual, it's time for the weather report, and this is from the Ghana Meteorological Agency. It should be on your screen now. This morning, mist or fog patches are expected over the coasts and forests and mountainous areas, while thunderstorms or intermittent rain are anticipated to affect few areas along the coastal line. And as I like to do it, let's take a look at the specifics so that you can be on guard. This morning, according to GMET, Aflao, Accra, and Kaswa, those people within these areas are to expect intermittent rain. So it means that it is going to be on and off. It's going to rain for a while, then it subsides, then it starts again. So the people of Kaswa, Aflao, and Accra should take note. And then the people of Cape Coast, Takrade, and Axim, this morning, GMET says the possibility of it raining with tender is 40%. So the people of Cape Coast, Takrade, and Axim should take note. The people of Koforidia and Akimoda are also to expect intermittent rain as well. And then the people of Kumasi through to Ketekrache, that's Sefibekwa, Itakwa, there's a 40% chance of mist this morning, so it's going to be very misty. And as usual, whenever it's misty, GMET advises that drivers or early commuters reduce their speed and make good use of their headlights as well. The people of Gosu and Sunyai, it is going to be misty as well. From the people of northern region, that from Yendi, Tamale, and Bole, it is going to be partly cloudy. It's going to be partly cloudy. And for Bolegatanga, Nelerugu, and Wa this morning, GMET says there's a possibility of rain, and that's the chance is 40% chance of rain, either tender, accompanied by tender and rain as well. And the temperature this morning here in Accra and Kaswa Aflao is 24 degrees Celsius. As the day progresses into the afternoon, the people of Aflao, Accra, Kaswa, Cape Coast through to Akimboda, so Koforidia, who Axim, GMET says there's a possibility, there's 30% chance of rain or thunderstorm this afternoon. And so please take notes and act accordingly. And for the people of Kumasi or Boase, it is going to be sunny this afternoon. And for the people of Takwa, Sefibekwa as well, there's 40% chance of rain. And Kintampo also, Sunyani, this afternoon, you should expect sunny condition. And for the people in the north, in the northern region, Yendi, Tamale, Bole, Damango, Bolgatanga, Nelerugu, and Wa should expect sunny periods this afternoon with a temperature ranging from 35 degrees Celsius to 38 degrees Celsius. And then in the evening, the people of Aflao, Accra, Kaswa, Cape Coast, Ketekrache, Axim, it's going to be mostly cloudy. And so it is going to be very cloudy there this evening with a temperature ranging from 28 to 29 degrees Celsius as well. But the people of Akimboda, Kumasi, Obuasi, Takwa, Sefibekwa, Ketekrache, Kintampo, GMET says there's 40% chance of rain accompanied by tender and the like. So the people within these areas should take note as well. And also the people within Goso and Sunyang, there's also 40% chance of rain. And the northern sector is going to be partly cloudy this evening with the temperature ranging from 30 to 33 degrees Celsius. And as we know, we've entered the raining season, and so please do ensure that you listen to some of these, reports to ensure that you keep your properties safe and ensure that everything is safe before you go out. And then if you're not living the comfort of your home, you can carry an umbrella with you as well. And those who have built on waterways, it's very serious. Anytime it rains for like 5 or 2 minutes, you see that flooding takes place. And so it's very imperative that you desilt your gutters to ensure that when it rains, the passageways will not be choked and all of that. And so those who have intentionally or have made up their minds to just do rubbish anyhow. This is the time. This is how we are facing the consequences.
We see situations like this. People living like far away from gutters. They feel like, oh, I'm safe because I don't have a gutter closer to my house. But then when the gutters overflow and it gets to your end, that's where you know whether you are not closer to the gutter. So we have to be responsible citizens and then come together and then get things done well.
All right. So that was the weather report by Peter Nsia and a word of caution from Beverly Anobil. So that has gotten us acquainted with them for today. Now, let's get to the word for the day, and then we get into the stories that are trending. So the word for today is mindfulness. Mindfulness. Now, the meaning of mindfulness is the practice of being fully attentive or paying full attention to the present moment. It's the practice of being fully aware and present in the current moment, calmly noticing your thoughts, your feelings, your surroundings, and experiences without judgment. It involves intentional attention to what's happening right now instead of being distracted. Instead of being distracted, yes. Now, the words that are similar in meaning to the word mindfulness, we have awareness, we have presence, we have attentiveness, we have consciousness, we have focus, we have alertness, we have observation, we have concentration. And then the words that are opposite in meaning, we have distraction, mindlessness, inattention, neglect, carelessness, unawareness, absent-mindedness, and detachment. So my colleagues, my able colleagues, mindfulness. Do you practice mindfulness in your everyday life?
Exactly. That has been one of my, should I say, anchors. And was the security, personnel uses a lot. That you have to be mindful of your environment, and it cuts across. Regardless, you can use it in all sectors.
Right.
Whether in relationship, I like to talk about relationship because
why are you so interested in relationships?
When we talk about mental health, we are in the mental awareness, month. We talk about mental health, and it looks as though people do not talk about relationship. But I can tell you on the fact that what is actually causing these mental health issues and that, well, 70% of it comes from relationships. Young guys and young ladies out there are suffering because of what we call relationship. I don't know whether, I don't want to say we don't understand, but I think that it has become the norm. A whole lot of people are going through a lot. You ask them and they don't really have anything to say, but rather, you see, how can you tell your dad or your mom or your pastor that this is what you're going through when, society in a way frowns at it?
It gets to a point you would shift from those things and tell your parents what's happening. Right. It gets to a point. Yeah. So, mindfulness, Beverly, do you also practice mindfulness?
I think Peter has said everything. And I think as an individual, I think one thing that will help you grow is for you to be mindful of yourself as an individual, whether spiritually, mentally, physically, emotionally. You have to be mindful of yourself because it is yourself you are talking about. So if you don't look at yourself as an individual, how do you intend to grow?
All right.
Right.
Thank you so much. So once again, mindfulness involves intentional attention to what's happening right now instead of being distracted by the past or worrying about the future. So yes, we've learnt the word today. So let's practice the word itself and also let us use it in our language. Let's add it to our vocabs. Thank you so much for your contributions. Now moving straight into the very first story. That is the story on... Yes, it's loading. Yes, the story on Ghana Standards Authority moving against products failing the safety standards test. So I think we have a video. Let's take a look and then we come back to discuss. Okay, so the video is not yet available. Then, what trends have you picked up
a whole lot is trending. But today I can't go without talking about Arsenal. Yes, for Arsenal, I don't know. No matter how happy you are, you are not more happier than an Arsenal fan.
Yeah,
the broken hearts, everything they've gone through, the emotional trauma and everything. They were able to get something for themselves just 3 days ago, and so I'd like to congratulate all Arsenal fans, and also to say that if you have a lady or a friend in your life who supports Arsenal and is a loyal fan of Arsenal, grab her tight, because the kind of mental, emotional struggle that they've gone through, and at the end of the day, at least they have something for themselves. So if you have that kind of person, hold that person tight, because the person understands life. You understand?
I'm sure the sports team will be happy hearing you say this.
It's not easy to be an Arsenal fan. So, I mean, kudos to them. Kudos to Arsenal fans. And then on that note, we've been talking about the Ghana National Fire Service, and we've been talking about, government, equipping them with the necessary tools and all that.
Yeah.
I think 3 days ago, the Minister for the Interior actually gave them some vehicles to ensure that they are able to, go about their duties as early or as efficient as possible. And so the ministry gave them 7 vehicles, and 1 motorbike to ensure that they are able to carry out their duties, promptly. And then not forgetting about their promise of getting them, their, why do I forget the name of, their cars, yes,
okay.
the cars they used to
fight.
Yes. And the minister says they are still working on it. There are about 100 engines or something that they want to procure, and so everything is in line. So I just want to thank the ministry, and also, tell the Ghana National Fire Service they are doing more, and we still expect more. Yes, yes. And maybe you go. I have another trend, but you go before.
Okay, so we've been talking about minimum wage, or it has been making trends now, especially the fact that recently, like about 2 days ago, during the Public Accounts Committee of Parliament, an issue came up where the annual if Denyaba Senior High School, they're paying the security. Hey, God, these three. Afia Denipa. Mention it again.
Afia Denigba.
Afia Denigba.
Yes.
I suppose it's coming from the Volta region, of course. So the SHS, they were asked, and they were paying their security 250 Ghana cedis a month, and this is below Ghana's minimum. The salary wage. And it has sparked a whole lot of conversations online, because security personnel, this comes to even ask, what is the role of a security personnel in an organization at the first place? These are people who guard us, they don't even let any bad thing happen to us. Even if it's supposed to happen, it comes from them. They tend to take all the bullets and everything for an institution. If in some cases, these are people who make sure that everyone is safe, and then at the end of the month, you are paying them a very low salary. It calls for a major concern.
All right. When you mentioned it's being below the minimum wage, I just tried to do some research, and I'm seeing here that if, we use the fact that as of January 1, 2026, where, the increase from the rates, the dollar rate, all of that became, so we are at 19 cedis per, no, this is not a dollar, but as in the daily minimum wage, yes, is now 21 cedis, 77 pesos per day, and it was previously 19 cedis, 97 pesos per day. Now, if we're going to use a 27-day, working month, we're going to have about 587.79 Ghana cedis per month. That should be the least anybody should be earning based on the daily minimum wage. And you mentioned 250 cedis. So that's less than half.
Yeah.
Right.
Please proceed.
Interesting. Yeah, this is sad. And I don't know whether per this. So government has, we had something from, the Labour Commission and then from government. So they're saying the public sector pay overhaul. And I just hope that some of these reforms or some of these issues can be looked at. Because, it's labor and the people cannot labor in vain. Imagine going to work as early as 7:30, closing at 5. Even sometimes they stay there to overnight. Some of them don't even do this 24-hour economy thing. They are there from morning to evening. You pay them as low as 250 cedis. It's very worrying and very disturbing. Somebody's father, they have expenses. They have children to take care of. And the living conditions are not so well. The CD is not really stable. Okay, yes, we've heard the businessman is here. We've heard that sometimes the rates are high, they are low, and it's affecting us. You're not even seeing it.
Yeah. So for now, I can say that based on the macroeconomic indicators and what is happening, I can say that the city is somewhat stable.
But we heard recently that it's going to 12 cities.
Oh, it's still hovering around 11 cities, 10, 11 cities.
But
just that
there was a point it was 10 cities. How did it reach 11?
Yeah. So just that, we are still fighting other stuff. And you see the tension is ongoing, and then currently there has been an increase in fuel prices and all of that. And so I think with time, and so that is the topic for discussion these days, that we've seen some form of stability, but that is not translating into the ordinary Ghanaian's life.
Yeah.
What the ordinary Ghanaian is looking for is, reduction in fuel prices, food, rent, and what have you. But, we are talking about sustainability, and it's
I think we'll come to that aspect of the conversation. But with this story that Bevlin is talking about, this is a senior high school, right?
This is a senior high school.
So meaning that it is something under, it's in the public sector, basically.
Right.
And if this is happening in the public sector, imagine what's happening in the private sector. Because if, we are in a situation, in our daily lives where unemployment rates are so high that it has become almost as though people are taking advantage of that. So you get a job, and the job is paying you very meager salary, and it is better than starving. So you would stay. And these employers, knowing the right thing, knowing very well also that they are paying their employees below the minimum wage, will still, continue that, because they know that if you leave, there is literally someone waiting to occupy that same position.
But then we shouldn't take advantage of people. That's one thing I would say. The fact that let me use the word poor. The person is poor doesn't mean you should take advantage of them. These are people who have families, okay? So the whole situation is that these are people who are protecting you.
Yeah.
Look at the job they are doing. They are protecting a whole institution. Secondary school, you think it's easy. The children, some of them are very stubborn. Hey,
yeah.
And some of the stories I hear, you see some of the security men moving in the middle of the night, checking if there are no, students. There are no.
Yeah, making sure all the security is up to standard.
Honestly,
but it's quite sad to hear this, especially because of the fact that the government is the one running the school, all of that, and then there are certain fees paid here and there for certain things. So what is it that could warrant paying somebody who is in charge of your security that low? And if there are robberies or multiple infiltrations by external people, would you stand to blame the person you're paying below minimum wage? And then there's also the parts where how many of us even know our rights? How many of us know our privileges? How many of us know our entitlements?
That's another aspect.
Because we just read here, I just read it out loud. We just found out just a few minutes ago that, minimum wage, monthly minimum wage now is about 587 Ghana cedis, right? How many people knew that? I literally also just checked just to be sure, because at a point I had a fair idea, but with time, and these things change, because I know we did hear that the government was going to increase daily minimum wage. I think that was earlier in the year. How many people are aware?
There's even another one, because yesterday I saw a story where they said the president unveils fairer compensation system. So reforms cover president to lowest paid worker. But is it having effect on every single person?
Yes, so
that's a question I asked.
That's where now enforcement of these things come in, because there are lots of businesses out there that we probably don't even know about. And sometimes it's after certain events that you realize that this was not even a legitimate business you were employed in, and you were paid so low and probably even mistreated. You know, this would even link to a story we'll come to later. That's the whole Chinese companies operating in their what's the word? Their products are below standard. Yes, but staying here, Peter, you were also talking about the fact that the macro and microeconomic something. And I think yesterday there was a conversation about, like, personally, where it was like inflation rate had gone up so high and then it dropped very, very low. And I was thinking about it that, yes, we are saying it's not reflecting in our microeconomics, but what about the other part of this issue, which is that the citizens themselves? Now, if maybe the price of this book, this notebook, became 20 cedis as of maybe 3-4 years ago, and now inflation rate is down to a single digit, as they like to say, are the sellers willing to bring it back to that price?
So that's another issue when we talk about these things. That's another issue. But then it all boils down to the fact that we are operating a free market. And like you said, the willingness of the individual to actually admit that right now prices things are better, prices are low, and so they should reduce the prices on goods and services for the ordinary Ghanaian. So it all boils down to greed and what have you. But then experts are also saying that it will take time before it translates into the life of the ordinary Ghanaian.
But how much more time? That's the question I keep
asking. Because like you rightly said,
also key
inflation
players
was high
in the same issue.
38% and now 3.4%, and other indicators as well. And so, I mean, it will take time, and that is the more reason why.
What exactly will be done if that time is being taken at this point?
The rate at which, as at 2023, we were under, the CD was somewhere 17 CDs, the public vet, and what have you. But, from that period till now, that is about 3 years ago, a lot has happened. And we are now, trying to appreciate it. And then we shouldn't also forget about the Middle East tension. Whenever fuel prices go up, it affects all other sectors. And that is what we are battling currently. Even because of that, the government had to step in by absorbing some amount of money on petrol and diesel. And it ended. And even as we speak now, government is still absorbing, like, I think 2 cedis, some amount on diesel as well, to ensure that the ordinary Ghanaian, get better. And then in terms of our physical discipline and all that, there's been a cut in, some expenses and what have you. At first, our expenses were even much higher than our revenue. And so economists will tell you that the economy is still stabilizing. And so, I mean,
these expenses are still, for the most part, still at those prices. Because I think even with the female, population was complaining about the fact that sanitary products or toiletries had shot up to such I think it went from about 10 to 15 CDs to about 25 CDs or so. I'm not very sure anymore. But the price hike was, quite big. And even as of now, it's still that same price. It hasn't dropped that low enough for us to say that, okay, now that, yes, inflation is at 3% or approximately 3%, we are seeing it. Because these people, the sellers too, say that if they reduce their prices, they will run at a loss. And so it continues. So,
yeah, right. It stems from the top. When things like, you see, government has done a lot. I'm not a government spokesperson, but government has done a lot. There's been tax waivers and what have you. But it looks as though some people at the top are really enjoying. When it comes to the wholesalers, the manufacturers, those who import and all that, they are enjoying. But then when it's supposed to come down, that when you go and pick from a wholesaler and you're going to do the retailing, instead of you to reduce it, there's something we call greed. And you see, and to be able to, enforce some of these laws. But as it stands now, if you go to the bank to, for loan, the interest rate is not as high as it used to be currently. All is being done to ensure that the ordinary Ghanaian feels better. And to top it up all, you see, we exited the IMF, the 3 billion, the bailout. And there's another, arrangement still with the IMF to ensure that we don't exceed, we don't go back to our indiscipline. Because the discipline, the condition the IMF gave us that we followed, that has helped us to gain some, some sustain our gains and what have you. And so we have what we call the PCI, the policy coordination, instrument. It's also to ensure that we stay glued to the discipline and all that. So, I mean, with time, like let's say a year or two, maybe probably by the end of the year, we start seeing, something.
Is it also likely that, not many business people or business owners out there know the technicalities of business? Because also sitting here as just a normal human being or a normal citizen, I'm also not necessarily, defending the people who behave that way, but it's like, if I used to sell your notebook for 20 cedis, and now you're telling me that, inflation has, dropped to about 3%, I should sell it at 5 cedis.
But you see,
I would think I'm losing money.
But you see, prices of goods are not only determined by inflation. There are other factors as well. Okay. So when you consider one, you'll be getting it wrong. So a whole lot of factors need to come together before.
This is because of so sorry not to cut you or anything. So inflation rate has dropped to about 3%. Dollar rate, we are swimming around 11 cedis, right? As compared to the 20 something cedis at a certain point. So I'm using that when the dollar was about 22 cedis, I was selling maybe my notebook for 20 cedis. And now dollar is like 11 cedis. That's half the price. And you're saying maybe I should sell it for about 5 cedis because as at the time dollar was around 11 cedis, that's how much, the book was going for. Wouldn't the business owner think that why should I go from high to low? I'm asking because a lot of us don't really understand the economics and things like they say it's hard. So if you can help us, mathematics.
I mean, like it's a whole lot. Like the example you cited, for instance, if it is 10 cedis, you don't expect that it goes down to 5 cedis. If there's going to be a reduction, it wouldn't be that significant as well. Like I rightly stated, it is not based on one factor. A whole lot of factors come into being, and then businesses actually go for loans from banks to expand their businesses and that. And so if you're a business owner and you go to the bank for loan and the interest rate on it is very high, who do you expect to pay? Your
consumers,
your customers. You understand? So you do it in such a way that you're not going to bear the cost alone. And so, like I said, it's a whole lot of factors that comes together to to be able to get a price for goods and services. I wish we can go.
I think maybe we need to do like an actual clinic where we learn these things. But one last question before we move into is it necessary for business owners to make 100% profit? Which from what, as a business, people, from what percentage do we call a good profit?
I mean, it depends on the individual. Some may peg it at, let's say, 70 or 80. And then you don't expect that when you start a business, the first year you make profits.
You might make losses even.
You understand? So it's with time. So I mean, it depends on the individual. Like I said, some see 70% as something huge, and some 80. But I don't think 100%. 100%, it's not feasible. Even if it is, it is going to take you a very long time or years. But those who are just beginning their business and all that. I mean, if you're able for the third or fourth year, you're able to achieve, let's say, 60% or 70%, you're doing well. Taking into consideration the kind of economy we are operating, the competitiveness and all of that. And I like the fact that we'll be talking about the Chinese issue, the Ghana Standard Authority. When there are differences. I mean, maybe you're using illegal materials, and the other person is using, quality materials. Now, when it gets to the final consumer, the prices differs. And because of the standard of living and the condition of the ordinary Ghanaian and how much he or she is taking, would want to buy the cheaper ones. And then it affects someone who is doing genuine business, using quality materials and all of that. And so it's a whole lot of, factors that comes together.
Right. I think we will have to, go on a short break for the online and print review as the lifestyle segment is about to, be ushered in. So they're going to be talking about child loss trauma and mental health. Like I said, losing your child is a very painful experience, no matter the age. So we're going to, delve into that conversation properly. And then later in the show, we'll come back to discuss this issue. So I'd encourage us to send our comments and, our thoughts to the WhatsApp number displayed on our screens or to the YouTube and Facebook live stream. And when the phone lines are opened also, I will alert you so you can call and also share your experiences as we talk about the trending issues. For now, up next is Lifestyle segment.
A lovely good morning to all our viewers, and you're welcome to the lifestyle segment on the Koko Digest Morning Show. My name is Honorable Bevlin A.J. Bia, and so today we are having a very delicate and important conversation on our show this morning. We are discussing child loss trauma and mental health. Child loss trauma can be one of the, depressing thing that could happen to anyone. And this morning we are fortunate to have a very seasoned doctor in the house. He is a very familiar face on the show, and I'm very privileged and honored to interview him for the very first time. So this morning we have here Dr. Abishai Anima, who is a licensed consultant, clinical neuropsychologist. He's a lecturer, a researcher, and this morning he's helping us understand the emotional and psychological effects of child loss and how families can, come together and then encourage themselves in these times. You're welcome to the show, Dr. Abishai.
Thank you very much, Beverly.
I like the name, Dr. Abishai.
Thank you.
I like the name. So, Doc, you hear what we are discussing this morning. So, I'd like you to take us through. So, when we talk about child loss trauma, what is it and what leads to it?
Okay. So, I love the way it has been called. Child loss trauma.
Right.
When a child loses the parents, this child is called an orphan. If a mother loses the husband, she's called a widow.
Right.
And a man a widower. But society has yet not found a name for a parent or parents who lose their child, because it is so painful. It is so unbearable that we don't even have a name for it. So child loss trauma is the pain. It could be psychological pain, the spiritual impact, social impact, emotional impact of losing your child.
Right. So I wanted to ask a follow-up. Like, this is a very, very delicate. So what makes it different? You say it's grief, okay? Child loss trauma, that's grief.
Real.
So what makes it different from any other, let's say,
Grief.
any other grief? What makes it different?
In fact, research indicates that child loss trauma or grief is one of the most complicated grief we go through as humans. The reason being that there is a natural cycle.
Right.
The old ones paved the way for the younger ones. So we expect that the old ones will leave, and that a time comes where they leave things to their younger ones. Now, when this cycle is reversed and the younger ones are living before their parents, it becomes so unusual.
Right.
And that is why this kind of grief is a bit unique and very painful.
Right. So I wanted to ask you that what happens to a parent psychologically when they lose their child?
In my 10 years of practice, I have met all kinds of parents who have lost their child, even in some cases, only child. Now, a number of them begin to doubt that, am I really going through this? And some of the effects they go through, they begin to blame themselves. Some feel so guilty. Some go through regrets. There is a episode of depression. Some even go through anger. Some become angry at themselves. Some become angry even at the child who has passed away. Some become angry at God. Some become angry with the medical team, that maybe we could have tried. And it begins to affect their sleep, affect their social relationships, even affect their work performance. And that's why this kind of child loss trauma is very severe.
Right. But I tend to ask that why would they like to blame or have the guilt? Because honestly, probably they are not the ones that, caused the loss of their children, except for maybe, let's say, you've been asked by the medical experts to maybe abort the child due to complications. Okay. So why the guilt? That's one question that came to my mind when you were speaking.
Yeah. If I sometimes look at a case where the parent even becomes angry at the child who has passed away, sometimes you don't really understand until you've gone through it. Now, why do people become guilty? They become guilty because there was a researcher by name Elizabeth Kubler-Ross.
Okay.
And she brought about the famous stages of grief. And she came to realize that there is a point where people begin to bargain. Now, this is where the guilt comes in. So when a person has lost a child, some become guilty because they begin to go back and self-analyze. Oh, maybe I could have done this. Maybe I could have gone to see this person. Oh, someone told me that I shouldn't just focus on the hospital. And maybe there is a pastor here or a malam here. Or there is a fetish priest who can help. Or maybe I should have done so and later gone to apologize to God. But I allowed my faith. So they begin to think about these things, and that's where the guilt comes in.
Right. So right now, how can child loss affect somebody mentally in a long term?
We call
because
that...
some people just don't know how to let go. There are people like that, like you said, the guilt will be for them forever. So how does it affect their parents or even the family as in mental health for a very long time?
Yeah. So we call that a prolonged grief.
Okay.
Some even call it a complicated grief. One thing is, when it comes to losing a child, we don't have a phased timeline for grief. Neither do we have medicine or even therapy that can fix or cure grief. Grief is something that we learn to live with. But in some cases, because it follows through some stages, although not preordained, it gets to a point where you now learn to accept the loss, make meaning, and you are able to have healthy social relationships and healthy work performance. Now, the problem is some people go through the usual mourning period. Maybe in a community, people go through the grief in about a month, 3 months, a year. They are able to go back to work, function, have new children, and then keep moving. But in people who are going through this complicated grief, it might take several years, and they still cannot come to terms with reality. It's affecting their social relationships. It's even affecting their work performance. That's where we need therapy or extra help.
So how does it develop into depression in the first place?
First place. In some cases, some symptoms or elements of depression seem to come along when parents are grieving the loss of a child. But depression is not the same as grief. And grief is not the same as depression. When you go through grief, you go through that normal cycle where sometimes there will be tears, there will be crying, there will be anger.
Sometimes even isolation.
Isolation, yes. And all these things are normal. They are normal. They even help us cope effectively. But for depression, it becomes so long-term to the point that you are now going through a mood disorder. That now defines every part of your day. And despite repeated efforts, you are still unable to come to terms with reality. You are losing yourself. You are isolating yourself in the long term. Even your job or your work performance has been affected. Then that's where depression becomes profound. So there are people who can grieve and they can go through depression at the same time.
So can we term it traumatic grief? And then if there's anything like that, help us understand.
Okay.
Because it's like it has traumatized you. You are grieving and it has traumatized you. So, like, let's bring the two together. If there's anything like that, traumatic grief.
In fact, if we have to give a better term for grief parents go through when they lose a child, I think traumatic grief would be the right definition. As I told you earlier, society has not been able to come up with a single term like orphan, widow, widower when it comes to losing your child, because it is so traumatic, it is so painful, it's so unbearable. Even in some cases, it's even unnatural to go through that particular way. So when people are grieving the loss of a child, it becomes so traumatic, and it could last several days to weeks to months, even sometimes years.
I was even asking, like, where does it hurt most that you get pregnant for 9 months? Now people are arguing that it's 10 months.
Okay.
Right. That is 10 months. So let's take like 10 months. You during the course of delivery, you don't even get to, see your child alive. Or maybe your child gets up to the age of 1 or 2, the child dies? Which one is more
painful? It is not that easy to quantify the pain in this regard. In fact, every child loss is very painful. And even child loss can occur in various ways. Some is a stillbirth, some they give birth to the child, and the child turns 6 months or 1 year, their first birthday, and then the child is gone. Others, the child becomes so sick, and they go through all kinds of battle in the health sector, and then they lose the child. Sometimes the child even drowns, or there is an accident. So all these are diverse ways parents lose their children. And all of them is very painful. Imagine a woman is pregnant, and she's about 7 months pregnant, or maybe 6 months pregnant. She loses the child in the womb. And we have to induce labor. And you are going to carry this child for about some few days, take some medication, and going to give birth to a baby that is already dead.
Oh.
So when it happens, it tends to affect them so much that sometimes some of them end up developing psychiatric conditions and even what they call post-traumatic stress disorder as well, PTSD.
Post-traumatic stress disorder. Can you tell us more about it?
Forgive our jargon. I know you know more about this already, but for the sake of viewers, yes. So PTSD, so post-traumatic, going through and losing a child, whether it was stillbirth, it was after birth, it was anyhow, is very traumatic. But after a while, people are going through severe stress and trauma, and this is how it occurs. They keep having flashbacks of the event. Sometimes they can be alone in the room, and they feel as if the child is going to open the door and then come back into the room. They could have some transit experience whereby they feel or they felt as if the child just bypassed them. Some would even say, I could smell the perfume my child used to. Some can be walking in the market and it looks as if they've seen their child entering a shop, and they can run and go and open the shop and say, I saw my child when the child has passed away. All these things become symptoms of the PTSD. Some go to terrible nightmares, and then they sleep and they're having nightmares about the child, and they will just wake up. Some are dreaming that the child is saying, save me, I'm in a pit and all that. So PTSD comes in various ways, and these are the symptoms after the grief.
So are these signs that shows that somebody really needs a professional, to guide them in their mental health stage?
Most definitely, because what people don't realize is that grief, traumatic grief, prolonged grief, it can end up changing whom you are. I have seen a lecturer who was our lecturer. I saw this man, how he was and who he was before he lost his only son.
Right.
And he was so nice, he was so benevolent, he was so spiritual. Then just after he lost his son, he became the most mean, treacherous, wicked lecturer we ever had. People couldn't understand him. But I knew that when people go through grief and they go through all this PTSD, it can change whom you are, it can change your values. And that is why you need professional help.
Right. So honestly, it's not related to child loss trauma, but I moved into an area about few months ago, and I buy from the woman, and she sometimes acts rudely. Honestly, I didn't jump into conclusion. So I asked the neighbor, why is this woman this way? Because honestly, I'm buying. You're supposed to be nice to me. That's your customer. If you are not being nice to the person, you're pushing the person away. And I was surprised to what I found out, that the woman lost her child. So that is why she's like that. And it's not like that was the only child. Probably the woman has so many children. But I asked myself, if she has been able to give birth about 3 or 4, and then she has lost a child, why is he making her act how she was acting? But all the same, I wasn't go with the idea that the woman was being rude to me, so I have to stop buying from her. I started greeting her almost every time, and I realized that we had this kind of, flair and nice conversation every morning. Every morning when I wake up, I greet her. We have conversations. Sometimes I even ask her, "Oh, Auntie Priscilla, lights no abana." Recently we've been having some dunso issues and everything. And I started engaging her, and I feel like she was, coming up. But it's not because of anything she was acting rudely, but this might be the cause. And she was like that to almost everyone. That was the whole issue. So I was asking, how does this also trauma and maybe depression or what they're going through, how does it affect their relationship with people, even their marriages as a whole?
There is a theory that tries to explain this. It's called the family systems theory.
Okay.
And it says that in a family setting, every member of the family functions as the human body. The way we have the eye and this function, the nose, the hand, the kidney, liver, and all that. So imagine a human being loses the liver or the kidney. The whole body suffers. So when a mother even has 10 children, 10 wonderful children, and she loses one, you know what our Lord Jesus Christ said about a shepherd who has 100 sheep, that he loses one and there is 99. He leaves the 99 and goes all the way to look for the one until he finds it and says, oh, neighbors, come enjoy me. Let us celebrate. Yes. So whenever a mother loses one person, it affects every aspect of their life. It affects them psychologically, emotionally, their sleep, their physical health is even affected. So we do get people coming and they're complaining of headaches all the time, gastrointestinal disorders or problems all the time. They're having panic attacks. Some come and they say, can I do some EEG and some procedures because I feel I'm having all kinds of, you do and you don't see anything. It's all because of the effect of the grief they are going through.
Right. Dr. Abishai, we live in a society where, let me say, pain has been somewhere normalized. Oh, ubeubium. That's what they say. Ubeubium. Oh, this person. Oh, this is just how she is. Oh, after some time she'll be okay. So just imagine if I listen to what people were saying. Oh, and I press la, sound not here, or need to buy and say, but they don't even attach or they don't even have or think or remind themselves that, oh, she once passed through all these things. How dangerous is it? Oh, the pain will go. And yes, how dangerous are some of these societal, let me say, comments?
Beverly, this is serious. It's serious because, as I said earlier, there are some things you may not really understand until it comes closer to you. I have met one lady who said, I don't see why people will be crying so much at funerals and all that until she lost her only child. Then she felt how it is. When people lose a child or someone in general, sometimes we go there with well-meaning comments. Oh, you've lost a child. Don't worry. This was even a young child. You give birth to another one. God will provide another one. You go and we try to encourage them and say, oh, God knows why he allowed your child to die and maybe he needed an angel. It is God who gives and God who receives. He gave you the child. He's taking the child away. Don't worry, he'll give you another one. These things appear as if we are saying that these things will encourage them, but they become so hurtful. See, when it comes to grief, no two or more griefs are the same. Everyone's grief is unique. So some of us go and we try to look at what a person has gone through. Let's say someone has lost a child and this was maybe miscarriage or stillbirth or something. And then we go and say, oh, hey, you probably just one. Me, I lost 3 children and my husband had an accident.
That's what we do as a society.
Very well.
We like to invalidate people's, let me say,
emotions. Or grief.
Oh, you are complaining. Me, do you know what I've been through?
I've been through.
Then it makes you start asking yourself, why did I even have to? It starts reminding you of all the things that you've been through. And that's quite sad, honestly.
Seriously. So in fact, these comments, oh, you give it to another child, just forget about the pain and move on. It was God who gave the child to you and God has taken the child. Who told you that God gave the child and he decided to come and take the child away? Who told you that?
God is not that wicked.
God is not that wicked. God is not that wicked. We go and tell them that, oh, try and be strong, stop crying and move on. All these things, we might see them with good intentions, but it doesn't serve their needs, which means we have to learn proper things we have to say and do when we want to support people who are grieving.
So now let's come to that. What are some of the things that we can do to encourage them? Because I see some people that have lost their children and honestly, their physical well-being too is bad. Apart from the psychological effects that it has on them, that physically you see that they are losing weight, they're not living their best life. They are actually living in their shadows. So what are some of the things that we can do to, encourage them to getting themselves back on track?
Let me give just one experience, a very short one.
Sure.
So I think I've met many mothers, many fathers who have lost a child or even all their children at once or an only child. And I work with my emotions as well. So I put myself in there. We call it empathy. So I go there aside the normal clinical works we do. I make sure that I'm there for them. I pay them visits, try to encourage them, do therapies for them. So there was this woman I'm going to pay a visit, and I went with some few people and some 2 young girls, very young girls. So we got there, I was a speaker. I was speaking. In fact, I gave a perfect speech. The woman was so much encouraged. So these 2 young girls were there. One was about 8, the other was about 6 years or so. So we were there, we were all living. These 2 young girls went to her and said, "Oh, grandma," and they just gave her a hug. That was all they did. Now the next day she called everyone to thank us. But she said that the ones who really encouraged me the most was these 2 young girls. And I asked myself, but they said nothing. They just sat down all along. And when we were leaving, they just woke up and said, "Grandma," and they gave her hugs. That was all. You see, when people are grieving, sometimes we feel we have to be the most articulate, the most linguistic. We must know how to be able to give a wonderful speech. But in the end, they might not remember the perfect speech you give, but they will remember how you made them feel, how you validated their emotions, their grief, how you were there for them. They remember those who even abandoned them. So what happened? What helps? Empathy. Let's learn to understand their feelings and find practical ways to be able to help them. Avoid comparing their problems to bigger problems. Avoid belittling their grief experiences. Sometimes you may not even know what to say. You can just be there quiet with them. You might feel like even crying. Be natural, cry with them. Sometimes all they might require would be you performing some small supportive activities. You prepare some small tea for, maybe she has other children. You prepare food, bring it to her children, her husband, herself, sit by her. I know it is very hard for you and for me as well, because your son Kwame was also a son to me. Therefore, I beg you, please eat something small for me as we go through this together. Just something simple like this can be able to put them. So in the end, they remember how you made them feel, and that helps them come out of the grief process.
Interesting. Now, I want us to talk about the men also. Society, they hate to see men, I don't know, a certain way, because they know we are giving the dominion to men. So they think like, oh, men are always strong. But how does it also affect men in this way?
Usually when you see a couple grieving a lost child, you might see that the way the mother grieves the child becomes a bit different from how the father grieves the child. And in most cases, the fathers try to be a bit stronger, pull
because
out.
That's how society wants to see them. That's how society. But is it okay for like a father or for the men to also grieve openly?
In fact, it is so much okay, but that societal expectations we just mentioned, it is what is killing men softly and making them lose themselves.
Oh, men also lose themselves.
Oh, yes, they lose themselves. You see, because it is a bit covert. We don't seem to realize it until some months, some years have passed by, and people around them begin to realize that I know Mr. Nemo. I know how he was years ago when his child was alive, but now the man has changed completely. He goes to work and he's yelling at even his customers. You mentioned this woman who would not smile and she was a bit not nice to her customers. So men, it begins to affect them. We have to openly allow men to express their emotions. One thing is, because grief becomes a process, although it is a bit fluctuating, at one point you were a bit okay, at another point you were a bit down. So we have to allow men express themselves. If you feel like crying, cry with them. Don't say, oh, men and all that.
Sometimes the statement means well, but because of the situation at that time, it's better off you keeping quiet and then just, sharing your silence with them at a point.
I remember there was a case where one well-known pastor in Ghana, I think he lost a son, and I think the loss happened on a Friday or a Saturday.
Okay.
The next day was a Sunday, and this man of God was in church and he was preaching. And some of his parents were asking him, but Pastor, your child is dead. You should be crying. And then, I think the man came, but he wasn't able to preach.
Okay.
So they said, man of God, when you are a man of God, you should come boldly and come and preach and continue.
Is the man of God not a human?
Not a human being. Even Jesus wept, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes. So if we don't properly grieve and go through the stages and we try to become strong or cut corners, it becomes very dangerous.
Right.
It's like you feel like vomiting and there is an egg to vomit and you are finding ways and means to suppress the vomit. It becomes very, very, very harmful. So we have to allow them go through the process so that they can later end up grieving positively and come out of the grieving process, have meaning intentions, make proper meanings, build better connections. If people grieve positively, they are able to even use it for their own advancement.
Right. But is there actually like a healing point in this situation? Is there a healing point? Is there a time where a mother who has gone through all these stages wakes up one day and all the trauma is gone, she doesn't think about it again? Is there a time like that?
Unfortunately, when it comes to parents grieving their children, a number of people would grieve throughout their lives. In the Bible, there was a man called Jacob, and when he was told that his son Joseph has been killed or something, which was not true, the man said he was going to grieve till death. So, as I said earlier, we don't have medicine or therapy that faces grief, but people go through it as a process and they learn to heal. So the healing point comes in when now they've been able to make meaning. And now the loss of their child makes them realize that I have to be more compassionate. I have to be more loving towards others. Some even learn to even build a legacy in the name of the child they lost.
Right.
For example, I also work with one foundation called the Sonia Nabita Foundation. And the whole idea was they lost a younger child to type 1 diabetes because they couldn't have access to insulin and then those materials. So the child passed away. They said, Sonia's death doesn't have to be in vain. So they worked so hard to establish an NGO and begin to look for funds so that they can give free healthcare to any child who suffers type 1 diabetes. So currently we work with the Sanford Hospital and we do it for free for any child with a type 1 diabetes. Okay. This becomes a healthy way of grieving, where in the end they're able to even leave a legacy in a child's name. Right. So all these things really helps.
Okay. So these are like coping mechanisms.
Coping mechanisms, yes.
Right. So how important is therapy and counseling? Because let's say somebody, let me use the typical, Ghanaian. Maybe somebody can't even afford, therapy or even counseling. How can a friend or maybe a relative, talk the person out? How can they do it?
Okay. So when it comes to grieving, we all play key roles. Right. Whether we are a relative, a friend, a neighbor, even workmates, to be able to help them, one, we must always have empathy. We have to understand that they too are human beings. And we all go through loss and grief in different ways. Right. Let's give them practical activities. Don't tell them that, if you need anything, you can call on me. It is fine, but a bit vague. Maybe you could say, please, I'll be willing to prepare some breakfast for you tomorrow. Please, can I call you in the morning to check up on you? By the time I can be able to bring it. If it's okay, you take your time. When I'm ready, I'll call you for it. You could even send them a text message. We've also mentioned some things we should never tell them or say or do when we are with them. That's comparing their pain to others. At the workplace, you might be an HR manager or a colleague. You can choose to maybe come in and help them with some of their work activities so they could get maybe a half day of work. or give them some time off work without their tapping into their usual leave, it becomes ways we all support them to show that, look, we are with you. I love one thing about Ghanaians. In the workplace, we all contribute. Babylon, please bring some small something. We organize, we
I
go
feel like
there.
they do that for when someone's mother or father, sometimes even weddings. A child grief, I haven't really heard anything of that sort.
Right. Some few groups have been part of, they try to do it. Okay, maybe I brought the idea, but it was really nice. The idea is not really about how big the money is, but the love we show them. The love we show them. And one important thing, please, most of the times, we will be going there to help them and carry them when they've lost a child, until the day we bury the child, and we all stop going there. Please, the grief doesn't end when the child is lowered down the grave. In fact, that is where the grief even becomes very real to them. So they need us beyond the point where the child has been buried.
Because we usually see, even with the normal Ghanaian, when people die, you see people around when the funeral arrangements are being done and everything. Once the person is buried, you don't get to see the people again. Like you said, that's when the grief, sets in. But like you said again, with the institutions, how can employers also help someone grieving their child? How can they help in a way?
In fact, I have seen companies that are very understanding. Already, a number of companies, they give insurance, health insurance, whereby if, let's say, Beverly is the one working, if your child is sick, they cover for your child's medical expenses. Now, in the case of grief, you could even have a small package. It could even be some time off work. It could even be the company arranging so that they can go there officially to go and grieve with the family. It could even come in to support some of the funeral expenses. It could be sometimes trying to even book a particular day, a day off, or even trying to have like a morning session at work whereby we spend some small time to be able to discuss about grief and how the company can help. Some companies even hire a psychologist or a therapist to be able to help this person go through grief. Yes,
that's
go through grief. And then they pay for the sessions as well.
Right. So there's this question too that I would like to ask. Can children also experience trauma after losing the sibling?
The sibling. It's an area we often don't talk about, but it is a silent killer. When children lose their sibling, a number of them even go through intense trauma than their parents.
I just thought about it.
Seriously. And with the few I have been able to encounter, this is even much more profound, and they tend to raise existential questions. Why did God allow this to happen? Does God truly love us? Does he see our pain? I've seen children who have grown and say, no, I won't worship God again. Because of this thing I saw, my brother suffered and he died. Some too tend to blame themselves because, our siblings, there will be times where we can't agree with each other. And we have someone or two. Some don't blame themselves. Oh, God, I remember about 3 years ago, I had a banter with my sister and now she is dead. Sister, please forgive me. I'm so sorry. And they become so guilty about that. Some of them also realize that their parents will grieve so long and will not give them the attention they desire. So they come to realize that, our father and mother, they loved this person who passed away more than... They might not tell their parents.
Because they are siblings, sometimes I feel like we tend to spend more time with our siblings, even more than our parents.
Very well.
There are things that you can be able to share with your sibling, but you'll not be able to tell your mom.
Very well.
You'll not be able to tell them. So
Seriously.
they share a kind of special bond with themselves that would cause them to also, have that kind of trauma.
Right. Among the children, suppose this lost child was their elderly sibling. In most families, the eldest boy is more like the second father, and the eldest is more like the second mother.
They tend to have like the characteristics of the parents.
Right. So to some of the children, losing such a person is like you are losing your own father, your own mother. So some of them, their parents are alive, but they see themselves as orphans. Some too, the child might be a younger child, so they treat that child as if this is my own son. We carry on a bit of parenting responsibilities as we grow up as children. So they also feel as if they are parents who have lost a child. And that's why they too need therapy and support.
Honestly, I would like to share a story. So I lost my best friend.
Sorry about that.
That's fine. And honestly, with the kind of bond that we had, I saw her to be like a sister. I saw her to be a sister. And as she's no more, I find it hard to even relate to her parents. I don't know how to approach them because honestly, it's like when you see me, you see her. When you see her, you see me. So I feel like me getting closer to the parents or me seeing them always, I remind
The parents
about her. It makes me really feel bad that I'm not able to talk to them.
In fact, there is a whole theory that tries to even explain this. It is called the symbolic interactionist perspective. Don't mind our big names. All they try to explain is when parents, for example, and friends in your case, lose someone in this regard, they are trying to form meanings, interpretation, and sometimes things become symbolic to us.
Right.
The moment the parents see you, they remember their daughter.
Right.
And I can guarantee that there is no way they will see you without remembering. They might smile with you, but the moment you go, they will say, oh, our daughter. Oh, we buy Wahanka. That's why I say we. And they will turn on their TV, clock TV, and here is Bevelin. Oh, we buy so Tiasianka. He too is also with Bevelin. And
honestly, they watch me. So sometimes I see someone, when I go home and I see them, oh, I've been watching you on TV. Hey, you're doing well. And it always makes me remember my friend.
Oh.
Yeah. So right now, I don't know, what should I do in this case? What should I do if I see... because honestly, I don't want them to feel like, oh, because your sister is no more, you don't, talk to us again. So in this case, what should I do?
Now, we can form new meanings.
Okay.
You could be the daughter that they lost.
Okay.
And seeing them as parents, if you have a mother, you call up on her, check up on her, sometimes even seek some advice from them. You might once in a while go and offer some small present to them, spend some time. Maybe, I don't know how the gap or the vacuum was. Sometimes it becomes so profound that they can notice that, hey, Bevelin is not coming here again ever since a friend. You could go and explain to them that, Daddy and Mommy, myself, I was so emotionally distraught because of my friend. But now I realize that it's been years, but I still have to come back and bond well with you. You could go back and then pick things up together. It will help you grieve well and use it even for your own advancement.
Right. But wouldn't they also feel like, oh, you're trying to take the place
of their child.
If you think the other way, you have to think about
the other way too. You are very right. I'm speaking in terms of research and experience. To start with, it's always not easy. And no one can ever take the place of someone you have lost. Nobody can ever take the place of someone you've lost. Even if at first that might come to mind, it serves a better way of helping them adjust effectively than just isolating yourself from them. That one does greater harm than good.
Right. So now let us hear from you, Dr. Abishai. We've had a very great conversation. If you missed this one, then you have to go back to our Facebook and then YouTube to, get the whole glimpse. But before we go, we would like to hear from you, Dr. Abishai. What are your final words to somebody, a family, a relative who is still grieving, their lost child?
Oh, to all parents, siblings, family members, neighbors who are grieving a lost child, including the parents of Bevelin's friend, please, our heart really goes out to you. We can never fully understand the pain you've gone through and even how you are still coping. But your resilience is a legacy to us. You are never alone. Please don't isolate yourself. Try to reach out to people. You can join groups at church, openly talk about your experiences and feelings, and maybe reach out to those who are also going through what you are going through, because it becomes the best form of growing up. When you reach out to those who are also grieving like you can be able to use your experiences to also strengthen them, and together we all can build resilience. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Abishai. And we did this discussion. So if to you out there, if you're grieving, if you are grieving your child, if you've had it for a very long time, just know that you are not alone, and your grieving is valid. It's very, very valid, and you don't have to do it alone. Like you said, no man is an island. You can, talk to people, go out. I just feel like people can also, you don't have to, let me say, squeeze yourself in one corner. Sometimes do fun things just to make your spirit and soul happy. So yes, a very great conversation on the show, and I enjoyed a lot. I don't know for Dr. Abishai, but we've really had, a great conversation today, and I just hope that if you miss, you just have to find yourself to our Facebook and YouTube so that you have, the whole conversation on the show. We'd like to have some amazing celebrants as they celebrate their birthdays today. So let's have it displayed whilst we join in their celebrations.
I heard today was your birthday. Your birthday.
And this is from Uncle Marcelo to Big Sam. He says, a happy birthday, son. May you grow with wisdom, strength, grace, and favor. May each new year bring you joy, good health, and success in all that you do. Keep shining. Keep becoming the great person God has destined you to be. Enjoy your special day. And this is coming from Uncle Marcelo to Big Sam. Happy birthday to you, Big Sam. And this is from Clock TV to Kate Opoku, and they're saying that may God continue to bless you abundantly in Jesus' name. Amen. Happy birthday going out to you, Madam Kate Opoku. And this is coming from Mimi to Daniela. She's saying the happy birthday to you, Daniela. May the good Lord continue to bless you in all your endeavors. May this new year be filled with joy. This is coming from Mimi to you, Daniela. Happy birthday going out to you, Daniela. And this is from Raj to Stephanie Na Dede. Hey, that's the name of my best friend. Stephanie Na Dede Ama. Is it at all? To the most beautiful person inside and out. May your birthday be filled with joy, love, and endless surprises. Happy birthday to you, Stephanie. This is coming from Raj. And before we go, I'd like to say a big shout out to Zeus and Needles for making this beautiful fit for me. Thank you so much. And you can also, check them out on social media as Zeus and Needles. It's time for the sports segment with Benedict in Kitakwati. I'm sure he's coming to tell us about the victory of Arsenal. And, Arsenal has been through a lot, so yeah, we need to celebrate them. So yeah, it's sports time with Benedict in Kitakwati, and it's been lifestyle with me, Annabelle Bevin AJB. I do enjoy the rest of our program.
Hello, lovely viewers. Good morning and welcome back to the Sports Update segment on your favorite morning show, the Koko Digest Morning Show. My name, as you know, Benedict Nketia Kwarteng, and today, we are bringing you nothing but the best in the world of sports. We are covering all the action, both local and international. Our stories for today, they are quite few, just short, but we are going to make sure you get to understand what is really going on in the world of sports. Now, before I go into my stories, there's a lot going on. There is a Europa League. There was a finals yesterday, and there is the Conference League that will be played today, and then the rest of the days. And we are heading towards the World Cup. We have 21 days more to the USA, Canada, Mexico World Cup, 2026 World Cup that is coming up. I can't wait. I'm overly excited, and I'm anticipating so much for the World Cup that is coming up. I know you are also waiting. You can't wait to witness what the world has for us. We have Neymar being called up into the Brazil squad has excited most of the Brazilian fans out there. We're watching videos of how Brazilians were excited. They were jubilating because Neymar has been called up. And one of the most exciting news is Arsenal winning the Premier League title after 22 years. Yes, 22 years. I think most of my colleagues, most of the people out there, if they had decided to give birth in the time Arsenal won the last Premier League, by now their kids will be 22 years and over. Someone like Nanaya Asare, his kid would have been more than 22 years. But yes, Arsenal, it's been 22 solid years. And as an Arsenal fan, not to me, but then I'm speaking for Arsenal fans, I think it's quite exciting. We should give them the room to jubilate. We should give them the room to have fun, because these fans, they've suffered a lot. Yesterday during the sport, we were discussing, the steps, the stages through which Arsenal has passed through, where they've been through, passing through Unai Emery's hands, passing through Arsene Wenger, and now Mikel Arteta, who has done it. Arsene Wenger used 9 years before he was able to win the Premier League. He was on the drought for 9 years, was able to win the Premier League. But Mikel Arteta spent just 6 years, and he has done it. Some school of thought are arguing that Mikel Arteta is a better legend. Comparing the number of years and all that to Arsene Wenger. Another school of thought disagrees. They still hold on to Arsene Wenger being the best manager for Arsenal. I believe Mikel Arteta has a lot to do for Arsenal. So in the subsequent years, we will see. Arsenal fans are saying now the door has been opened, the floodgates has been opened. Open the floodgates. So yes, Arsenal is on to win trophies back to back to back to back. So yes, we'll be here to see what they have for us, what they'll be able to do in the years coming up. And then let's hope that Arsenal is able to also win the Champions League games that is going to come up very soon against Paris Saint-Germain. That's PSG, the champions of France, who are also defending champions of the Champions League title. Now, let's move on to our stories. Let me start with our stories for today. Our first story for today is local story, not a local, but an African local story, which is the 2026 AFCON, the U17, the under-17 AFCON. So Black Starlets missed out on quarterfinal qualification despite South Africa after drawing off lots. It's this story. I mean, I watched the game. I watched the first penalty that was converted. We won. Black Starlets won the game by 3-1 at the end of the game. But something happened, which is when the table, according to the table, Black Starlets have the same points as Algeria, which means they have to draw a lot. So Senegal was first with 6 points, and then they qualified with 6 points. Algeria is second with 4 points. Ghana is third with 4 points, and South Africa is third with 3 points. So the difference between Algeria and then Ghana, there isn't any difference. Ghana had 5 points. 5 goals. 4 and then 5 goals against. That means they lost. They considered 4 goals. The same with Algeria. So the officials, going head to head, everything was equal. So you had to draw a lot. Unfortunately, Ghana we missed out on the lots, and then we have to go on to for a playoff. So Ghana Black Starlets will go and join the playoffs team to see how best we can qualify to the next stage of the competition. So yes, it's just an unfortunate part of it. The Black Starlets did extremely well. They lost 1, won 1, drew 1. The same with Algeria, lost 1 game, drew 1, and then won 1. The same goal difference and everything. So the lots just took us out of the competition. But that is just by the way. I believe since we are still on a good run, we will do better in the playoff, and then we'll see how best we'll go about it. So yes, that is for the Black Starlets. Now, our next story for today, which is rather an interesting one. Our very own legend, Asamoah Gyan. He's been unveiled as a GFA ambassador to inspire Black stars and future generations. So if you know Asamoah Gyan, if you've been following Asamoah Gyan for some time now, for some years now, even through Accra Academy and all, every time I go for sporting events at Accra Academy, I see Asamoah Gyan there. So you know that Asamoah Gyan is he's more enthused about the young players or young athletes out there. He's invested into the young future, our future stars, and what they have to bring to the nation, to the country, and to themselves or their families as well. So here, he's been unveiled as a Black Stars ambassador, GFA ambassador to inspire Black stars and future generations, which means he is in a position where he has a lot more resources to support the young players out there, the young athletes out there, the young stars out there who want to help themselves who think of a future in football, in athleticism, in whatever sports they find themselves in. So yes, this was unveiling was done by the GFA president. Yes, he unveiled, as Kets Okreku unveiled that yes, Asamoah Gyan has been called up to be the ambassador to support the cause he's been championing for years back. He said for nearly 2 decades he carried the hopes, dreams, expectations, and emotions of millions of Ghanaians on his shoulders. So this is a tribute to Asamoah Gyan. To this day, Asamoah Gyan remains Ghana's all-time leading scorer and Africa's highest scorer at the World Cup, a record that speaks not merely to greatness, but to consistency, longevity, and unwavering commitment to country. So yes, this and many more that was said during the unveiling. We have a video we want to show to fully buttress what happened at the unveiling.
And when it comes to Asamoah Gyan, I support grassroots football. I'm a product of coast football. When it comes to coast football, it's a juvenile football where we had our captain, Mr. Steven Appiah, we had Ajiman Bedu, we have Prince Tego. We had all the players that played in my generation. And for time now, coast football has never been the same as before. So a year ago, President told me, Asamoah, I would like you to be an ambassador for the national teams and coast football when it comes to Ghana. And also for what you have done in Ghana, you've been in coast football and everything, so you are the perfect choice. We want to do so. You have to be ready.
Countrymen and women, tonight, as we officially unveil Asamoah Gyan as ambassador of the Ghana Football Association for our national teams and also for our coast football, we are not simply appointing a former footballer. We are embracing legacy. We are reconnecting our future with one of the greatest symbols of our football heritage. Asamoah's appointment comes at a critical and exciting moment in Ghana football. As you watch the scenes on the screen, in a matter of weeks, our beloved Black Stars will once again step onto the football's greatest stage at the 2026 FIFA World Cup in North America. And as we prepare for this historic journey, we recognize that qualification alone is not enough. The World Cup requires belief, unity, energy, national spirit, and emotional connection between team and country. But who better to help rally this nation than a man who has lived the World Cup dream? A man who understands what it means to carry Ghana onto the global stage, and a man whose name echoes in the memories of football lovers across Africa and in the world.
So yes, that is Koko and speaking about Asamoah and then what he has done, his achievements for the country, and of course the reason why he is the best choice, the best fit to be called up as the ambassador to support, upcoming, stars out there, to champion upcoming sports athletes out there. So yes, that was Koko and Asamoah on our screens. Now let's move on to our last story for today. And our last story for today has to do with the Europa League and what's been going on at the Europa competition. Yeah. So yesterday, Aston Villa of England was able to win the Europa major trophy for the first time in 30 years after a 3-0 win over SC Freiburg. Sorry if I'm not able to mention the word well, but it's German, so Freiburg. So in the 2025-2026 Europa League competition final that went on yesterday, Aston Villa was able to win, and then this is the 5th trophy for Unai Emery, who is right now being tagged as the king of Europa League, because this is his 5th finals in the Europa League, and then he has won all. He went 2014, he won it. 2015, he won it. 2016, he won it. 2021, he's won it. And then now with Aston Villa, 2026, he's won it again. And this is quite an interesting, resume for Unai Emery. And I think we can all applaud him for what he has done with the Aston Villa team. Let me just say something about Aston Villa. So the last time they won a major trophy, that was on March 24th, 1996. So you can tell that it's been a long time. This is even older than myself. The last time they won a major trophy. And then since then they haven't won a major European trophy until yesterday, May 20th, 2026. 30 years in all. And I think we can all be proud of Aston Villa and what they've been through and how they this is the Villa's first European trophy since 1981-1982 European Cup, where they defeated Bayern Munich. So yes, when they defeated the European trophy, they won 1981-1982 season. They defeated the German team, and then this time around again, they beat the German team to win their the Europa League title. Yes, and for Unai Emery, his 5th European title ever since he started coaching. Congratulations to Aston Villa. And then Aston Villa has done Chelsea FC a very huge favor. I expect all Chelsea fans to go on their knees and pray and thank God for what Aston Villa has done for them. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the fact that because of Aston Villa, Chelsea FC is going to play Europa League. Hooray! Congratulations to you, Chelsea, because right now, because Chelsea, Aston Villa won, now they've created another slot for the Champions League, which means that Bournemouth, yes, I think Bournemouth is able to qualify for the Champions League, which creates another opening for another team, which is the 9th position, to join in on the table and qualify for the European football. That means Chelsea is going to play Europa League. If not, they will be playing the Conference League. And we know they are going to win the Conference League because that's the only place they can thrive. They can do very well. Chelsea, we know your game. We know your game. You don't do well, you go and play those leagues, Conference League, Europa League, and then you win it and you come and make noise. World champions, world champions. This is your end. So yes, go and thank the Aston Villa fans. Go and thank the Aston Villa players. Go and thank Emiliano Martinez. I'm talking to you directly, James Bernard. Go and thank Emiliano Martinez for what he's been doing and what he has done for your team. So yes, this is for the sports update segment. My name is Benedict Nketia Kwatin. Thank you very much for sticking and staying with us. Next is the business segment with my own colleague, Peter Nsia.
Hello there, good morning to you, and many thanks for joining me on the Business Update segment on the Koko Digest Morning Show. And as usual on this segment, we provide you with the latest in the world of business, expert analysis and market trends that will impact your business and investment decisions. I'm your host, Peter Nsia, and now to our stories. Ghana's total public debt increased to 674.1 billion Ghana cedis in February 2026. According to the latest summary of economic and financial data released by the Bank of Ghana. In dollar terms, the country's debt stock rose to $63.1 billion from $61.3 billion recorded in December 2025. Despite the increase, Ghana's debt to GDP ratio declined to 42.2% from 44.7%, reflecting stronger economic growth and improved fiscal performance.
The report also showed that Ghana's external debt remained stable at $29.3 billion, representing 19.6% of GDP. Domestic debt, however, continued to rise, increasing from 341 billion Ghana cedis in January to 360.4 billion Ghana cedis in February 2026. Meanwhile, the government's fiscal performance improved, and the fiscal deficit to GDP ratio standing at 0.3% in March 2026, while the primary balance recorded a surplus of 1.2% of GDP. The improving debt ratio and primary surplus are expected to boost investor confidence as Ghana transitions from the International Monetary Fund bailout program to a policy coordination instrument.
Away from Ghana's public debt, the Ghana cedi depreciated by 8.4% against the US dollar between January and May 2026, according to the latest economic and financial summary released by the Bank of Ghana. This is higher than the 6.6% depreciation recorded during the same period in 2025, signaling renewed pressure onto the local currency despite improving economic indicators.
Bank of Ghana data show the cedi weakened from an average rate of 10.95 to the dollar in January to 11.4125 by mid-May 2026 after briefly recovering in February. The depreciation comes despite Ghana recording a $5.28 billion trade surplus, foreign reserves of $14.42 billion, and inflation easing to 3.4% in April 2026. Analysts say investor sentiment, capital outflows, and portfolio adjustments may be contributing to the sustained pressure on the cedi despite the country's improving macroeconomic conditions.
And on to our last story, Ghana's total export earnings rose to $11.1 billion by the end of April 2026, up from $9.2 billion recorded during the same period in 2025, according to the latest summary of economic and financial data released by the Bank of Ghana. The growth was driven mainly by strong good exports, which generated $6.8 billion compared to $5.2 billion a year earlier. Cocoa exports brought in $1.8 billion, while crude oil exports in $1.2 billion. There's more to the story.
On the import side, Ghana's imports bill increased to $5.8 billion from $5 billion recorded during the same period last year, with oil imports accounting for $2 billion. During the rise in imports, the country recorded a trade surplus of $5.2 billion. Meanwhile, international reserves climbed to $14.4 billion in April 2026, while Ghana's gold reserve increased to 22.3 tons.
Let's now shift our attention to the currency market and the good coin prices. And that's how we wrap up on the business update segment on the Koko Digest Morning Show. Thank you for sticking and staying with us. I'm Peter Ntia. Up next is the main discussion with Yahira Awono. Please do stay with us.
Yeah, welcome back to the Koko Digest Morning Show. And if you're just tuning in, it's time for the extended version of the online and print review. I'm here with my co-hosts, Bevelyn Anobil and Peter Nsia. And I'd like to encourage you to send your comments to the WhatsApp number displayed onto your screens and to the YouTube or Facebook live stream. And then I will do well to read them here. When the phone lines are opened, I will also alert you so that you can also call and weigh in on the conversation. So, yes, picking up where we left off, we had a few, stories we were going to talk about. We started with the Chinese industries and their products failing the standards. And then there's also a romance scam issue here. So we will be speaking with Mr. Judah McKinnon. He's a software engineer, senior software engineer at Amalitech Services. So he will be giving us some insights into cybersecurity and, everything associated with that. Peter will be handling that conversation. So when the time is due, I would also alert you so that, you can also get some information on cybersecurity, romance scams, and fraud, and all the other affiliated activities. So, yes, we were talking about the products being substandard, and then GSA was also, had cracked down on some of these companies or factories. And I think I saw a video. It was about the mattresses. Yes, I think we have a video. So let's take a look, and then we discuss. Okay, so the video is not ready. I think I also saw another video where people who may have or allegedly have patronized these facilities or warehouses or even these products basically were now doing inspections. So they would cut into their mattresses and you would see that the mattress is full of cardboard and then a very thin layer of foam. And it's like, why?
I think what I saw was is it the calico? That's how we call it?
What?
Calico. I don't know.
The grey baft, the fabric?
No, that wasn't fabric. It was like, is it those things that when you buy televisions, you buy fridges, you see them?
Styrofoam, the white one?
Yes, that was what I saw in the mattress. At the cover, in the cover of the mattress. And that's so sad. People have paid monies just to...
It's cheaper. They didn't pay that much.
So it's very disturbing. But then I like to speak from the law perspective. What does the law say? Because a whole lot of conversation is going on social media. Like you rightly said, I also saw a media where a post where some of the Chinese were trying to resist arrest and all that, and they were questioning where the power, for lack of better words, let me say power, where the power lies and all of that. And see, when we talk about the Ghana Standards Authority, the Standard Authority Act 2022 Act 1078 is the, let's say, the parent, act that ensures that, and with other sections too. So let me take the mandatory compliance, section. That is section 32 and 33 of this Act 2022 Act 1078. Under this Act, the Minister of Trade and Industry declares specific industrial standards as mandatory. It's a criminal offense to manufacture, distribute, or retail any commercial product that does not bear the official GSA standard mark of conformity. So what we are seeing, according to the law, is a criminal offense. It is illegal. You cannot, distribute or retail any commercial product that does not bear the official GSA standard mark of conformity. And one may ask, what is this standard mark conformity? Like you also have the FDA. You see, sometimes you go buy something, they ask, does it have the FDA mark? Is it approved by FDA? So the Ghana Standards Authority also has what we call the standard mark of conformity. And, as if you want to import or you're a producer, you have to, apply to the Ghana Standards Authority to get it. You understand? So their responsibility is to ensure that products that we have in this country meet the national standards, and they are of quality. In terms of what the situation we are talking about, like the mattresses, for instance, reports indicate that these Chinese are using inferior goods instead of the quality goods that they are supposed to do. And like as we were talking about earlier, because these people are using inferior goods, the outcome, the prices of their product become cheaper. Now, what happens to competition? The other companies are also producing the same goods, but rather using quality, materials. What happens? And like I stated earlier, that because of our conditions of service and the amount people receive at the end of every month, they would like to purchase, goods that has lower,
affordable. Yeah.
But okay, you want
Peter, my question this morning is if we have people, checking for substandard goods at the port, how are all these things entering the country? This is the question I'm asking
that was
myself.
also the question that was on my mind.
If there are people there to check surveillance and everything, why is that this materials are entering the countries?
So it's a gap that we need to address, and so with this we can also talk about the customs and all of that. They are responsible for that even before it enters the country.
Right.
There are so many processes that they have to go through, and then we can also not talk about the fact that in as much as some of these things we can blame them, some of these things comes in a large quantity, and sometimes it is not every container that they can have access to.
But why is that?
But that's not an excuse, because if the roles were reversed, where Ghanaians are shipping or transporting whatever goods to China, do you think the Chinese government or the Chinese systems, customs, whatnot, will say that the 40-footer containers are so many, so we won't check everything? They will check everything.
But as of now, we cannot even pinpoint whether it is China or if they are Ghanaians, because they have Ghanaians too that are also doing the same thing.
There's another question we should ask, that what is it that gives let's just use foreigners basically, so that we don't create a small bubble. What gives foreigners the idea or mentality that they can get away with certain things,
exactly,
in this country? Because when we look at other countries like the Western countries and all of that, or even our neighboring countries, you realize that there are certain things our own brothers and sisters would say, hey, when you go here, you can't do that. Let me use Rwanda as an example. Rwanda, notwithstanding what all the other social issues that go on there, you cannot litter. Even in South Africa, you cannot litter. And you see people, put up posts on social media with the culture shock that, you cannot just do certain things. You cannot just, get up and set up your small tabletop by the roadside. You need to go and, acquire a permit, a license, all of that. Now, coming back to setting up a business and whatever the business is going to even be about, what gives these foreigners the mentality or the freedom to think that, okay, they can, try all kinds of very substandard things and Ghanaians would agree to it? So I think that Ghanaians ourselves may have a role to play, because obviously there would be some sort of engagement with some Ghanaians here for these things to happen. But then, like you're saying, the port, that is the entry point. How is it that you are now cracking down on the people in the factories and whatnot, when the entry point, we didn't hear anything about that? And what even went on?
I think we even as citizens or as Ghanaians, we have a role to play, like Yara rightly said. We cannot build a culture of silence. They say, oh, you've seen some, you have to volunteer information just to help some of these stakeholders to be able to hold people accountable. Yesterday, about the GSA issue, I heard that the how do you call it? The factory was closed about last year or last 2 years. How long have they been operating at the first place? That's the question we have to ask ourselves. And the fact that the workers there happen to be, let me say, Chinese people. Let's even trace it back to the Galamsey issue. You go to the site and you meet these same people. What right do they have? The fact that you have been stopped to do something, they still, that's why we have to, check the rules again, our laws. What does it say about, foreign nationals coming to the country and they feel like they can do whatever they want to do? Meanwhile, there are rules we have here in Ghana.
So, not to, cut this conversation, but we were trying to get Mr. Judah McKinnon on the line so we discussed the romance scam thing. The issue, sorry. So, Peter, yes, we have Mr. Judah McKinnon on the line. Hello, sir.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us on the Koko Digest Morning Show. I hope you're well.
I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm well, thank you. So I'll hand you over to Peter so we can get some info on the romance scams that's been ongoing for a while now. Peter.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Judah. Many thanks for joining us this morning.
Yeah, good morning.
This morning, basically, we want you to educate us and the viewers on what is currently transpiring in Ghana that has to do with the US and the cyber crimes, romance, and what have you. And so, you being a senior engineer, we want to find out from a technical point of view, how do romance fraudsters operate online without being easily detected by platforms or authorities?
Yes. So good morning to your viewers and listeners. So they started off as mere conversations on social media.
Hello, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Yes. So what I'm saying is, the romance scams, even though they started off as mere relationships on social media, but then they have become really advanced with the tools and the services that have been made available because of the advancements in technology. And there is a lot of technology out there, but we need responsible people to use it. But with these romance scams, now there are cartels, there are organized groups that run these programs. But basically, what it does is, you meet someone online, you strike conversation online, you get into a relationship, and then at some point, it becomes something romantic, which is all online. Now, people are able to spoof their addresses and a whole lot of digital information to show, even though they are in Ghana, it shows that they are in a different place with IP spoofing, VPNs. And because of the vulnerability, someone a connection online, for a relationship online, it's easy for people to fall to these plans. And these are not uneducated people. You need to be educated to be able to do this, because it takes a lot of effort, a lot of conversation with the victims. So those who are engaged in these romance scams usually are educated people who are able to speak good English, read and write, do research, find out information about people, and then target them. So they pick for maybe somebody, an elderly person in the US, probably a widow or a widow in the US, country. It's online looking for relationships, and then they meet such a person. They create on their vulnerability and give them all that they want to hear. And it takes skill to be able to do that, to be able to connect with someone on that level. And so it has become very complicated, and really successful people are able to do this and make a lot of money out of it. And so the way it is done these days, it's not as it used to be. And with the use of AI, people are able to create personas online that always in reality. And so you might speak to a man, but you will think you are speaking to a woman, or the other way around as well. And so it has become very complicated now. And the tools are readily available. They sell it in not the black market or the dark web. It's all over on the internet now to buy tools and services that are used for these things. Now, these recent ones, back then it used to be email scams, where you receive an email from a Nigerian friend or friends from Somalia who students were fleeing and left them with millions, and they want your account to send those millions to them. But now it has become much more technical, so that people are able to connect, dig in, find more information about their victims, try to, they send them flowers, they send them a whole lot of things. And then the thing really feels like they are really connected with the scammer, to the point that the scammer screams, I'm sorry, oh, I mean, this is difficult, send me this amount. I'm doing this deal, send me this. It was the three Nigerian friends principle. So that it's like we start a relationship, and then at some point, when we are really deep in that relationship, and then the victim is really connected, then the actual scamming begins. And then now somebody here, I need someone to play. There's some this here, I need that, and then it goes on and on until the point where it's not even about a relationship anymore. It's more about just the person is so into the scam. The person is so into the scam that they cannot do anything without them. And so anything they ask, they have to give it. And that has become the person now. And we see young boys, young girls all over the street. Once the computer says different groups, even some Nigerian students, and they are getting involved in this scam.
All right, Mr. Judah.
In Ghana, yes, they used to be called Sakawa, which was kind of not a very good thing to be associated with. But now society has really gone past that. And so it's almost normalized in our society now, so that we accept them, we live with them, we know that these people are coming, and we praise them for the money they get as well. Yeah.
Thank you very much. But I also want to ask that, in your opinion or in your view, why do you think that young people are the ones involved in these, scams?
So, in our context in Ghana here, I think one prominent thing is the lack of jobs.
Right.
And the kind of jobs that young people want now, usually the kind of jobs available. Young people don't want to stress and go through the mill. And so we see flashy things, we see the world moving so fast, and we want to catch up. And then the only way to do that is to get money quick. And to get money quick, you have to use other ways. And so you will see a trend that lots of people are no longer willing to subject themselves to training and learn a skill. And so people don't, that is the long and tedious way of learning, of making it. You learn a skill, to apply that skill, you learn enough skill, and then you move on from there. Now, we see those flashy things, and the big people in our society don't take it seriously at all. They flash all their wealth all over for us to see how good it is to have money. And so young people are so interested in making the money so fast. There's no time to go and learn it and then go through the process. So it's really not helping. But then it boils down to morals. It's a breakdown of morals in our society. And it's contributing to these factors.
Right. Thank you very much. In your earlier submission, you made mention of social media and dating platforms. I want to ask, what responsibility do these, platforms have in preventing these scams? And are they doing enough, technologically?
It will be difficult to comprehensively answer the question. Some of these scams. But ultimately, the goal of the social media platform is to connect people from one end to the other. And these one comes try on the connection between one person at one place and another person at another place. It becomes intuitive for the social media to crack down this, because it's like they're going against their own message. And so even though there are notices of something like the word of scammers, don't share your password, don't send it to someone, all those things. Ultimately, the scamming is particular to track the overall goal of the social media companies, connecting people. And so it will be really difficult for them to work.
All right. So with that, can software or artificial intelligence actually detect romance fraud early before victims lose
It's very difficult. I really cannot imagine a specific scenario. On the AI will have to be reading people's Snapchat to be able to know that this is a scam. And that is also on a different platform. That is the privacy concern to be reading the people's personal chat, because these are very personal chat. And if a social media company or any company goes on to the trajectory, it will raise a lot of red flags about privacy and privacy laws. So it will be difficult to use AI in this regard. The only way will probably be for the individual to probably maybe ask an AI to talk to his own chat. Now, if it's really a scam or not. But you cannot determine, for instance, that someone is a scammer just by looking at their profile. They already said the profile seems like, and these are really skilled people who have done this for several years, so they know what they are doing. And so it's difficult to use AI in that regard.
Right. Let's move to Ghana's cybersecurity systems. Do you think that Ghana's cybersecurity system and digital institutions are well equipped to track and prevent these international fraud networks?
Yes. I think in recent times we've seen how very effective our cybersecurity authorities have been in curbing this menace. So usually it's because of the way it has become very organized with groups. I mean, it's almost like guns, and then they get up in some room or some apartment that we have standing there. In that regard, it's easier to track those kind of groups, or maybe at the level. People who are being scammed actively, and then they trace the scammers through those who are being actively scammed, and then they give information to our local authorities, and they then track where the scamming is originating from. That can be done. That's also possible. So yes, our cybersecurity authorities have really been on this game for some time now. I think kudos to the team and cybersecurity authorities. They've done really well. Obviously, the thing that they're cracking down on these scammers and trying to raise our society of this method. This popular, like an industry, it used to be quite popular now, Nigerian trends in the Western world. I fear if they don't really crack down on this scamming and one scam, we might end up getting learning by allowing them to like a lover or something in relation to Nigerian friends, because Nigerians these days are not very like when it comes to the data platforms and the scams and because of their history. And I think we're heading on the same trajectory if we don't really keep it. It might end up one day it will be people free to call it a Ghanaian lover, which will not be a good thing to our compatriots who are in the diaspora. Yeah.
Right. Thank you. Before I let you go, so what are some of the biggest gaps in today's digital systems? Even though you've made mention of a few of them, can you also give at least, let's say, some 2 or 3 gaps that you think today's fraudsters are exploiting to target victims, especially the elderly ones?
So I think mainly people, it thrives on the vulnerability of people. And I think the gap here will be probably for people who are in such situations to seek help with people around them rather than people online. They were looking for relationships with people online. You never know who you are chatting. You're chatting with yourself. Form a relationship with your boss, and then you'll be related to again. And the gap here, people really do not understand how advanced the technologies available have become. you will think it's a human being, but it's not. So basically, it's on how these systems have become. They have been it's really advanced. AI has another advantage. It's almost unimaginable to think about what's possible with these scams. You will be shocked. Someone will be speaking with your face, your voice, and your demeanor in ways and forms that you couldn't even begin to imagine. I think we really need to educate the elderly, especially who are in those categories, vulnerable elderly people, about how advanced these scams are and how to stop this friendly. But then it gets to the point where they start asking for stuff. And it doesn't start big, it starts small, which is normal. And then it descends to the point where it grows bigger and bigger. And at some point, you don't even look at the business anymore. And that it's no longer a relationship, it's more a transaction. So education is really drills down to these elderly youth. Yeah.
Right. So my last question before you go. Authorities says banks also play a major role since these, fraudsters or perpetrators make transactions through banks. If you were advising governments and banks today, what are the most practical technology-based solutions to reduce romance fraud? Let's say immediately or the short term. What are some of the practical technology-based solutions you would require government or banks to actually adopt?
Okay, so for banking institutions, they more facilitate these processes. And let me try and get this on the two levels that are available. So on the foreign side, those who are sending the money, the bank need to advise the people sending the money that and need to really query them. Who are the beneficiaries? Why they need to use this money? What business transaction? No sense. They kind of stop some of these transactions. You say you're in a relationship with someone, you've not seen the person, you've never met the person, and you are sending huge amounts to the person. It really needs to raise a lot of red flags, and at that time, they need to be able to stop that kind of person. Now, on both sides, they have stopped. These transactions are facilitated by the people working in the because someone doesn't really have a source in business, but they're receiving
Hello, sir.
money.
Mr. Judah, please, your line is breaking. Can you kindly position yourself well? We can hardly hear from you.
Yes. Is it okay now?
Yes, please.
Yes. So first, on the second side, we need to really deal with the morality of our banking professionals.
Right.
Because most of these, it's a collaboration between the scammers and the bankers. So that someone is not really having a direct source of income, but they're always cashing out huge sums from these banks. And for every transaction, someone has to, a banker has to facilitate such amounts. And so it boils down to who is facilitating the scammer to withdraw these huge amounts. And usually they have direct connections with the bankers, bank managers, and those cash attendants, so that they'll be able to report these transactions that are usually red flags. And usually what we see is they even advise these scammers on ways in which they can go about withdrawing these monies without raising red flags with the SEC or the Bank of Ghana. So,
right. So you mean to say they also play a major role in this illegal activity?
Yes, they do. They do, because you cannot withdraw huge sums of money without a bank's notice. The money doesn't fly. It's always through a bank transaction. So the bankers need to really set up in that regard. And because of the incentives involved, they get their share, they get their cut in all these. So it's difficult to really report these transactions to the Bank of Ghana or the Securities and Exchange Commission to really crack down on these. And I think if we can deal with it from that side, we can get the thing under control.
Right. Thank you very much, Mr. Judah, this morning. Your last words before you leave us.
I think we need to take up in this country to avoid this branding of Ghanaians as romance scammers, because ultimately it doesn't just hurt us internally, it hurts everyone who holds a Ghanaian passport or wants to do business as a Ghanaian in any external, any foreign country. Because once we get tagged as scammers, it becomes difficult for any legitimate businesses to penetrate the international community. And I think we really need to sit up and then try to put this under control. Yeah, thank you.
All right, so thank you very much for your time this morning. Over to you, Ariel.
All right, thank you so much. That was Mr. Judah McKinnon. He is a senior software engineer at Amalitech Services. And this conversation was based on the fact that a U.S. attorney in Ohio indicts Ghanaians over alleged romance fraud scheme. So, yes, it seems Ghana seems to be making a name when it comes to the romance fraud issues. And yeah, you were saying this on Tuesday that it seems to be tarnishing the image of Ghanaians, home and abroad. Well, I think from what we've also heard, it seems that we also need to put in a lot more effort when it comes to our cybersecurity laws and education also. And then, yeah, I think the continued collaboration between the countries or among countries, Interpol and all of that would be helpful, because with the recent crackdown that, even jokes are made that some of the gurus in the East Lagons and whatnot are all quiet. Everybody has mellowed because a few people were caught here and there. Yeah, so I think maybe with time, if the laws become stricter or even enforcement is also intensified, maybe we might salvage what's left of our name.
You see, you made mention of something very imperative, like our society. Ask the fact that why are young people involved in these camps? And you made mention of unemployment and the rate at which the young people want to get rich as quick as possible. And the amount of money we are looking for, it's crazy. Right? If I'm to ask Bevelyn, how much are you? So it's a whole lot. Trillions. It's a chain of, so we have to tackle it from somewhere before we get to, somewhere. You made mention of education as well. Most people do not know what is actually been happening. Most people use smartphones. They don't know. I made mention of bankers also. You think that they are also involved in some of these,
Honestly, I was really listening to that part where you said that the banks also, because they know they have a cut. Let me add, allegedly, the golden word. Because they know that they'll get the cut from it. They don't, the culture of silence. They're all quiet because they'll get something, and that's a very bad, thing.
But you also, the issue of unemployment too. I think this is a little bit of a digression, but it's in a way linked to the unemployment issue. Where I think I saw a video. Coffee Day tends to have these interviews with certain key personalities in our society, and the most recent one I saw was an older lady who I forget the name. I'm so sorry. She was talking about life during the university and all of that in their time. And with that, also, people started talking about the fact that the previous generation, they had so many things put in place for them that made life easier, but they also, in a way, messed things up for us. Because it was talking about, I think one of the main things that was a big, that had a lot of attention was the fact that university students used to be fed 5 times, in a day. Right. And we are now in a situation where hostel fees are even more than school fees. But coming back to that now, with the way our parents and our grandparents, after school, so and so, you get a job, your courses you did would land you into a job. Some way, somehow, there is a disconnect somewhere. And now we, having acquired even, so to say, even more education than they had at the time, because now, if you want to be somebody or earn a substantial amount of money, you need a second or even a third or even a PhD, you know, before you can get something they had after even maybe SHS or, you know, a university degree. Yeah. And so it's almost like we need to also look back into what the disconnect is, where the failure comes from, so that maybe this unemployment issue can be checked in a way that now people will not be looking for quick fixes, and people will not say that, oh, the school is a waste of time and money, but rather try to venture into all these, you know, social vices that would now also become a big burden onto us or even the next generation.
And what actually saddens my heart is the fact that when there's a crackdown, you see some section of people against the crackdown because of a whole lot. And so I think that the cybersecurity and the other institutions are doing so well, and we will encourage them to do more. And then, like you rightly said, let us enforce the laws. Once people get to see that if you do this, you'll be punished for it, it will serve as a deterrent to others. Until we get one, my social teacher will say, scapegoat or scapegoat. The others are not going to refrain from it because they just know that, oh, it comes and even it makes you popular. That's what others say, it makes you popular, and that's all. But then when they get to see that people are being prosecuted and the right, you know, punishments are given to them, it will serve as a deterrent. And like you rightly said, there should be more room for, you know, employment and what have you. And I think that the influence, last week I was saying something about technology. Now we talk about technology. Is technology doing more good than harm to us down here and, you know, in Africa? Or I mean, because when you go to the Western world, it looks as though they know the use. Even though they might be doing some of these things, the rate at which they use them for crime is a bit, you know, low as compared to here in Africa.
I feel like AI has made a lot of things sophisticated in a way that now, Peter, as I've seen here now, you can put yourself into an AI app, and it can automatically make you a female. It will give you features of a female and everything. So it makes some of these issues more serious. Imagine you telling or lying to somebody from abroad that you're a woman. The person will automatically
with deep fake
voice. They're even able to fake voices as well. So you see, I feel like it has in a way also made things, you know, encourage them in a way, making things easier. Because at first they can even let their female friends or even families.
They do that. So there will be a girl.
But now AI has made it more simple for them.
So when then do we strike the difference? Then, I mean, technology is not meant to, help to. Right. I mean, it's not supposed to.
Technology, it's just like any other tool. Depending on the hands within which it lies, it's either a tool or a weapon. And this, I will have to just link it to the next story, which is that the Education Ministry partners Google to promote AI-powered learning in Ghana. And with the link I'm going to make is that, like you were saying, with the Western countries and all of that, these people, you know, they use technology and all of that, but you don't find them, you know, in so many cases of fraud as much as we are. Even though they have their own fraud cases, that's usually tax fraud. But coming to our end, where everybody or a lot of people who are engaged in any form of technology is using it for something bad. And this same story, when I read the story, the first question that I had in mind was that, what about the young child in a remote village that probably does not even have electricity? What happens to those people? And it's the same way with even the people that are literate or semi-literate here. Even the literate ones tend to use, you know, these digital platforms and these AI-powered platforms for more harmful things than good, because they know that, yes, in the right way, in the right channels, through proper education, all of that, you can make money from this. I mean, considering COVID, you know, working from home, remote working in another country and all of that, it brought a lot of things to light. Now, all these people who, yes, they've heard of this technology, but they haven't been given the proper education about it because they did not have access. One way or another are looking for money. They are introduced into these romance scams when maybe from what God had, you know, designed in their destiny, they could have been a software engineer, but now they are scamming someone?
I think it is because they do not have the knowledge. I mean, the requisite, I don't know if the right word, the requisite knowledge in IT. And that's why I see this collaboration, the Ministry of Education collaboration with Google, as a very good one. Let's say, with the point I just made, assuming they don't just know, they don't understand, they really do not understand what technology can actually do. Now that we want to start it with schools from the basic level, before the person grows to a certain age, he or she understands what technology can actually do. Right. Because those who actually understand IT technology, they are benefiting. Currently, they are using it for graphic designs, marketing, and what have you. Yeah. But it looks as though because many people do not know what technology can actually do, they are just left with the negative aspect of it. Yeah. So, you can even use technology to do this. But we are not often being told the positive side of technology. And it's also because we don't really understand what technology can actually do for us. And so we just feed on what someone else knows. And you know, negative news travels a lot. Yeah. And like we said, like the Western world, they are using it for so many important things. We only hear of what you can use AI to do negatively. We don't hear of what positively you understand.
I think there's something called uses and gratification theory in media. So they are using the internet for what they deem or what they seem like important to them. So in a way, like glorifying, fraud. If I do this with AI can, it can fetch me a lot of money. So that's what they are, picking up. But then it's the wrong way, like abusing, more or less like abusing what it was actually meant for.
And that's why the education thing is necessary, because if, like Peter was also saying, if these people had the right information or education about how to use these things properly, now even their own socialization would not, it's not to, it's not, all these are not in absolutes. They're not likely to be looking at it from that negative point of view. Like I even said, that maybe this person would have wanted to venture into software engineering as opposed to this fraud, behavior. And we have a comment here from Daniel in Ofanko. He says, please let's take out unemployment as a factor for romance scams. The youth don't want to work and want quick money. A crime is a crime. Should we applaud armed robbers for robbing people of their properties too, all in the name of unemployment? Enforcing lifestyle audits would really help big time. Thank you so much. That was Daniel from Ofanko. Enforcing lifestyle audits. Where do we start?
Yeah, said his own.
And who will do it?
President Mahama actually started something that we all applauded him. No, I mean, he started that before, like, you have to declare your assets and all that. I think, you have to declare your assets before you become.
But even with the declaration of assets, is there open and transparent probing for all Ghanaians to know that every single asset can be traced back to this legal or otherwise source? Was there something like that?
Because honestly, like Hera is saying, you were there some few years ago, all of a sudden you see some rich man be emerging. All of a sudden you don't even know where the
his
sources are coming
pocket watching,
from.
Though this is not pocket watching, but even when we are trying to do lifestyle audit, who then is qualified to do that? Because even, I'm sure someone listening to us would say that from the top to the bottom, every single person is questionable. So who now would be the Noah in our time where God says, okay, this man is right with the law, right with everything, and should be the one to audit everybody? Already look at the issues with the special prosecutor and attorney general, all of that. And if we go and find out that even so this is just an example, if the special prosecutor himself in the lifestyle audit is also found wanting, can he also now audit someone?
When that happens, the law will deal with you because we have laws in this country. Yeah. That's the 1992 Constitution. And the law is no respecter of any person. I don't know if I'm right. It doesn't respect you, whether you are president.
Yes, nobody's above the law.
Exactly. So once we have the law in place, there will be stakeholder consultation, and we will agree that this is how we want to do it. It becomes a law, and this is it. And so if we appoint you as, let's say, a lifestyle auditor or some and you yourself, you sit down, the law will deal with you. Another person we follow seeds.
So left hand wash right hand,
exactly.
Right? so
we
in the
sanitize
end, well, it is notwithstanding. This is not to say that the lifestyle audit is not a good idea. Yeah. It is just that sometimes you see when these suggestions come, you need to weigh them from every angle as well. Because if we say that we are auditing lifestyle, who then is now going to be? Because if we carry Peter, maybe Beverly knows some maybe I don't know. Me, I'm thinking, Peter is righteous in the eyes of the Lord, but Beverly knows something. Beverly comes out with the information, then we go and check and it's the truth. Now we say, okay, Beverly should do it. You two, you come out with the information, because that is what it seems. Because when you look at the political landscape, or even with the elite, there is seemingly news about almost everybody, and there seems to be skeletons in everybody's cupboard or something. But that notwithstanding, yes, a lifestyle audit would help us. Now, okay, we have another comment. This one is, let me get the name quickly. So this one is from Kobe. He says, if romance scammers conduct transactions, how does it affect the CD exchange rate negatively or positively? Oh, this would have been a good question for Mr. Judah McKinnon. But businessman, with scammers conducting their transactions, how does it affect our exchange rate? If anything, FDI.
We call something remittances. So when people are outside there and they are sending monies to the family members for school fees, for hospital bills and what have you, it has a way of helping the economy as well. But I cannot pinpoint to the right figures as though.
Okay.
But remittances actually help with the economy at large as well. But then I think he spoke from the point that the illegality involved, in as much as it will help in terms of, the dollar, the foreign exchange and all that, the illegality involved. Imagine me sitting here and I go to the bank to cash out some amount of money. I mean, there should be questions about it. Even though in a way it is going to help, but it doesn't portray a good image of the country. And let's say, like he stated, like allegedly, if some banks are involved, and after an audit or something like comes out, it's a shame to the bank and what have you.
Yeah.
And so, in as much as it doesn't have any negative, impact on the economy or the exchange rate or what have you, it shouldn't be something that we should actually tolerate.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, the negative impact it will have would be huge.
Yeah.
It might not be in terms of that, but it might be in terms of reputation. No investor would want to come down the country to invest because of what is happening and all of that. And so, in a long way, it has a negative effect.
All right. Yeah. Okay, so with a story on the Education Ministry, it says here that the Minister for Education, Haruna Idrisu, has signed a memorandum of understanding with Google for Education, aiming to modernize Ghana's education through advanced AI technologies. This partnership seeks to enhance digital literacy, teacher capacity, classroom innovation, and equip students with essential 21st century skills. Idrisu highlighted the collaboration as a significant step in the government's commitment to using technology and global partnerships to improve educational outcomes for Ghanaian learners. For this issue, we have just a few minutes to go. For this issue, my main question is, what about the rural kids? Yeah. There are still schools under trees. There are still teachers teaching, pupils, and they themselves don't know the 26 letters of the alphabet. Yeah. I think that video trended for a while some weeks ago. What about them? We were talking about this before we came back, and I was asking that you don't cook if you're cooking jollof, you don't cook the rice and leave the stew. You have to start from somewhere, so everything, comes together in the end. So if we are getting into AI and we still have so many students lagging behind, even lacking desks and books, some of them are using, I think, the slate and chalk, and they should be using books and pencils. And some of these teachers, some of the facilities, all of that. Is there anything, going to be done there? Is this AI also going to reach them?
Exactly. And I think that with this understanding, they will they would want to start with a pilot testing to see how it is going to be like. And over the years, we've been preaching about lack of infrastructure in some of these schools, and government is actually helping to expand these, these schools and ensure that they also enjoy up-to-date, facilities in the schools. And whether we like it or yes, those in the urban areas are going to, benefit. But with time, it will descend to the rural areas.
The SR government also brought something about tablets and e-learning and.
Yeah. Right.
I mean,
did it get to all the schools? Did it get to everyone? The rural areas.
You see, there are some places in Ghana that they don't even have light.
But ballot boxes reach there, so education and development can reach.
Exactly. I'm not speaking for government, though, but then you see, this is a good news that is going to help, because other countries have tried it. Countries like China, Finland, India, and then when you come to Africa, Kenya. Kenya, there's a pilot program using AI for teacher support and digital learning tools. And their focus is on improving access to underserved areas. So once we begin and we see that it's helping, it will definitely get to the underserved areas as well. But it's a welcoming news. And I think I would like to congratulate the ministry for that as well. And we are looking forward to that partnership. Because, yes, those also there, like you said, they deserve it. But for now, it is starting from here. And let's see how it goes.
Hopefully it reaches everybody.
Exactly. Right. We need the desks in the school building to reach first before AI will follow. Right. So concluding this conversation, thank you so much for joining me here. Thank you also for sending in your comments. Thank you also for tuning in. We are most grateful. And this brings us to the end of the Koko Digest Morning Show. And we hope to see you bright and early on Tuesday morning. Do have a great weekend ahead.